Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And this is a workshop, so nothing that we discuss here is going to be finalized. There'll be no real decisions made. It'll just be merely for information and conversational purposes only between the board and the audience to get everybody's opinions and ideas. The first thing is discussion of possible modifications to the Fort bylaws and membership interaction at meetings. Who would like to start?
It's your topic.
What are you asking?
The bylaws have been somewhat outdated. Whether or not we're an HOA and whether or not we follow the HOA procedure book, we still have yet to determine that. There's not a real clear-cut decision on that. And all of any conflicts between our bylaws that are written in our Fort documents versus what the state and everybody else says, we need to work on those, I think, and probably we could either work as them through committees on the Fort or just get lawyers to go over them, but we need to bring them into current, I can't think of the word right now. Compliance. I was thinking of complications. We need to get it straightened out so there's no complications and they are in compliance. Have any of the rest of the board got anything to say?
No, other than our Fort attorney did say that we were subject to 209. So until we hear differently, we have to move forward under that.
And then the member interaction at meetings. We've had different ways for the members to address the board or address items. Has anybody at the table got anything they want to say about that?
Other than the restriction in under 209 about participation of non-directors at a board meeting, but we've explained that several times. We still have our open session. Now, B, you had mentioned it. You wanted to move the comment section back up to the front of the agenda, but if you recall, we tried to do that earlier this spring and had a large outcry to leave it at the end of the agenda. So had something else occurred that made you change your mind, or?
Yeah, your memory's a little fuzzy on that. In that, the agenda was, the talking was moved to the front. However, it was limited to items on the agenda, not what people wanted to talk about. Now, they came into the meeting, saw an agenda, and that's all they could talk about. Naturally, it didn't get much action. But if people know they can talk about what they want to talk about at the beginning of the meeting, then they don't have to sit here all for 2 hours waiting to get to say something. Many times they leave before the meeting's over, especially when we go into an executive session for a couple hours and come back. It's just not right. They have to sit here too long. I think we should go have an executive session first thing. We'll come in here and establish a quorum, open the meeting, and there may not even be anybody here. We recess, go to the executive session, take care of business that we have to, if any. Come back, and the people they'll be here, and then they can say what they want to say, and then we proceed with the meeting. Kind of chronologically, it makes more sense to me to do it like that.
I'd like to speak a little bit on bylaws, if I may. Aaron. I have been researching the bylaws. Everybody here, I don't have to go to the mic. I think I speak very loud. I have researched the bylaws all the way back to 1985. We have some things in these bylaws that have been in these bylaws since North American towns were here. Things like for instance, Article 1, Article 2, number 1, the principal office. I didn't know if people here are aware or have read the bylaws, but the directors may change to another place in Kenny County for the board meetings. I want to bring that forward to you to be aware of. Article 4, powers of the board. The third section of it. They can designate any place in the state of Texas for holding any meetings. Would you like to go to Amarillo or Wichita Falls to attend a members meeting? These things all need to be cleaned up. The regular, there's another article here, number 4, page 9, place of meetings. Regular meetings of the board shall be held at any place within the state of Texas. That means that the board members may, if they desire, for some particular reason, they can go anywhere in the state of Texas to have a board meeting. That needs to be cleaned up. And another one down here says, a meeting of the members. All meetings shall be held in Brackville, Texas, or at such other place in Kenny County or Baird County. We've got all kinds of things in there that we need to straighten up ourselves. This is our own business, and if we don't straighten them up, we can come back and fight. A lot of these bylaws are made and changed by boards of directors. A set of bylaws for a membership organization must be a constant. We must have a set of bylaws that will transfer from one bunch of directors to the next bunch, because none of us will ever be here very long as a director at one time. And there is no consistency when several different boards can take control of the bylaws and change them to fit their own agenda. And that's what's been happening year to year. And I'm quite concerned about it, and I think we need to get a set of bylaws that would stand the test of time.
Thank you. Mr. Hahn?
The only bylaws that are in force are the bylaws that were filed for record in the Kenny County Courthouse in June of 2011, I believe. All others they're no longer in effect. One of the things that previous boards have done to ensure fairness and a positive information flow is that any changes to the bylaws had a first reading at an open board meeting, were published in the newspaper between that meeting and the next board meeting, and then for comment, and then at the second reading, it was either adopted or changed. Even though that was done, those resolutions were never filed for record in the courthouse. So they weren't worth the paper they were printed on. Everything has to be filed for record in the courthouse, and the reason for that is so we all know that it exists. If it's just done, set aside, given a number, nobody knows it ever happened. As Ms. Barron said, as the time passes, it's all forgotten. But the only, I believe, the things you mentioned about North American towns are no longer in effect, because there's only one set of bylaws. They were completely revised in 2011 and recorded for record. And that's the one that we should be ensuring are in compliance with state law.
Right, that's,
Maybe I misunderstood me, but there's some of those same provisions are in the bylaws that was here when we dealt with North American towns are still in our bylaws. The ones that I mentioned, these are the ones that I mentioned that are in the 2011 bylaw.
right.
And that's why I'm concerned.
Well, I think that's the reason that this item was put on the agenda, so that we become aware that we have to do some changing and to comply with the new laws that have been, enacted over the years, and to make sure that the bylaws are
by today's standards, not 1836 rules. And I think what you're saying is, you know, basically is what you're saying is what we have to look at to make sure that everything is up to date and correct.
I'll make one more statement and then I'll vote. Normally, the bylaws are made by a committee of the board and the members. It's not done by the board. Anytime a set of bylaws that change the membership should certainly be notified. I have not had a notification of a change in the bylaws since I bought my property in 1996. I don't know how many different changes are in here that I don't even have access to. And a membership organization, and most all of them that I have ever dealt with, and I have dealt with several. I'm on my bylaw committee up at Clyde Cross, and up to our little RV, our little recreational association up there. And that one is this way, and I got a copy from the rural electric today, and I read all of their bylaws concerning membership, and bylaws should be approved by the membership before they can become permanently established into the organization. Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan?
There's a number of things that need to be changed in the bylaws, obviously, as we all seem to agree on. Some of them are the election procedures. Some of them are on the duties and obligations of the board of directors, that it can't just be passed off and hide under a rock under the guise of, well, we don't want to micromanage. Both the declarations and the bylaws charge the board of directors with controlling the affairs of and running this association. And I didn't bring them left to read them. I'm not going to bore you at this time to read what it says to you. Further, we need to make sure to have the bylaws intermesh with the declarations as much as possible, because where they don't, what we become subject to is the whim of a board of directors that can be controlled by just 3 people changing everything. But we're protected in the fact that the bylaws must be in compliance with the declarations, the protective restrictions. So when they're redone, they need to look at that and try to make them mesh with those declarations as much as possible to provide us, the members, with protection so that we can't be taken over from a tyrannical, dictatorial type situation ever.
That is kind of what I think most of this was something I wanted included in there. I think we should probably have a membership committee look at the bylaws with the board, or maybe look at the bylaws and suggest changes they would like to see. Although it can't be the end-all thing, because it does have to be done legally at the end. The attorneys will have to look at it to make sure that we are in compliance with law and stuff like that. However, that would give the members input on something to bring to the board about what they would like changed in it.
Okay, we're already going to have our attorney look at it for the legal compliance with 209 and other applicable state laws. And once we, I think, do that, then we can go back and look at those, what's left to do, that not required by the state, because we are not in compliance with several things in our bylaws. So we, those particular bylaws, and some of them, you're correct, Mr. Sullivan, have to do with elections. And we have elections coming up, so these are things we're going to have to do. Okay, so maybe once we get our attorney's input as far as the legal things that have to be changed to be in compliance with state statutes, then at that point we can get some more feedback from members.
One other thing I think would help to prevent 3 people controlling the board is if we went back to the board like Mr. Mendelson had set up. Let's have a 7-member board.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, with our determination of whether we're under, I guess it's the 209 Texas governance, where our 2013 election was based upon that, giving every member, whether they were in good standing or not, the right to vote. We have 3 on the board right now. If we decide that we are not homeowners, then those 3 are not up there legally. If we're going to abide by our old bylaws, which said you had to be in good standing before they could have a vote.
The thing is that we have to put the two together to make one.
Well, we got to determine whether we're homeowners or not.
Well, according to the lawyers and everything else, we are. That's what we've been told. So, and it's written, right. But what you're saying is, and I agree, we have to look at the homeowners' rules and regulations, and then fit and follow those, and then fit our local bylaws into that.
I guess I misunderstood at the meeting where I believe Mr. Robertson, you brought in your lawyer and said that we were not.
There's still debate on that, and the other lawyers we talked to the other day, there's room to clear that up better.
But
So,
as I say, if they prove that we are not, then the league of that 2013 vote, election was no good.
We're getting off topic.
Yeah. Okay, I know we can go on one topic for, excuse me. We can go on all night on one topic, so we understand, and I think you understand we understand what you're saying, and I think you understand what we're saying, and that is, they have to be looked at and changed, meshed together to make one new set of bylaws.
go ahead, Myrna.
I was just going to say that I know that it's a messy business, but democracy is, before we give it to the lawyers, I think we ought to hear from a committee of members what they think needs to be changed. And, it may be little or nothing, or it may be a very big thing. But I think by the time the lawyers have tweaked it, there's not much room for the members to get involved.
Good point.
Mr. Bowman.
2 things I'd like to bring up to your attention, or to everybody's attention. January 1st, 2010, the state of Texas mandated that all corporations follow the Business Organizations Code. That's on their website. It's been since 2010. The other thing is, no more secrets.
And then the member interaction at meetings, I feel like the members have a right to talk at every meeting, if the chair lets them. Now, it can be, if we let every member talk about every item we have on the agenda, then we might be here for 3 days. But if everybody's in agreement that we need to be here for 3 days to talk about it, I guess we will be. I would suggest that we change the way the members address the board. They can have a 15-minute discussion period or a 20-minute discussion period at the beginning of the meeting, which is commonplace in most municipalities. The members get to talk about whatever they want at the beginning of the meeting. No action can be taken on it, and however, since we're not a municipality, I guess we can comment and discuss that. But I feel like the members, if we're discussing any item up here, and the members are acknowledged by the chair, and we can talk in a civil manner about things and not disparagingly about each other and other board members, then everybody should be allowed to talk and their opinion should be heard on any given item.
Well, Roby, the statutes allow you to do that as presiding officer.
He's the president. He's the Roby.
I, on the other hand, don't want to be here for 3 days, any day.
Mr. Sullivan.
I just want to make a brief comment to clarify on what your attorney, Mr. Earl, had to say. I do not believe he ever made any contention that we are not an HOA. Never said that. What he said was that there were certain portions of the HOA law that did not apply to us.
That's right. That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, well, there's certain portions didn't apply, and one had to do with seating in Myrna Castle, and that's what he was talking about. He didn't make a determination or a claim, to my understanding, that we were or were not an HOA. That's still something that's...
Right, we haven't, and those are the things that the other attorneys agreed with, that in this case, our bylaws prevailed over anything else. But we've still got to clear all that up at any rate. Do we have any more discussion on that, on those items? Yeah. Ma'am?
My name is Terry, and I'm new in town, etc. But anyway, what would it have to be done? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a problem to go ahead and have a committee, as you were saying, which makes wonderful common sense for the board members to come to, get all of their ducks in a row, and then have the discussion, have everything wrote down to take to the attorneys to see if the black and white will go, and then have it all approved. I mean, to me, that would be extreme smart for those of us who, I'm not here full-time yet, but I'm hoping to get that as soon as I can.
Welcome.
Well, but it's open to
But I
anybody
mean,
that's not here full-time, as long as you're a member. I mean,
Yeah, but
opinions are
what I'm saying
opinions.
is, I mean, like, I live in Odessa, so I left yesterday from here, got home last night, slept for a little while, got back here this morning, I mean, today, so, and I'm leaving again to go back to Odessa tomorrow. Anyway, you want me to leave already? But I mean, I think it would be an absolutely phenomenal idea if there was a committee to do something such as that, because I mean, at least it would keep all of this kind of stuff out of this type of business, and then they could get together and get all of the stuff wrote down with probably mini tablets, etc., but at least kind of get it knocked out, and then bring that to you for the attorney to look at to see if that would mesh, which that could go into the bylaws, etc., to go on into. And I mean, just save a lot of.
Well, it would give everybody on the fort a little voice, and that's, we can't decide to do that tonight because this is a workshop and we're not going to make any decisions, but that's what we wanted to hear. And we can bring that up and then decide what to do at a later point in time.
And we were not trying to take any decisions away from the membership, but there are certain things in the new 209, well, it's not so new anymore, statute and some case law that certain types of bylaws in here, like to do with elections and proxy votes, things like that, members in good standing, that must be changed. They're mandated by the new law. That's why I would suggested that it go to the attorneys first to make those changes that are mandated, that we don't have the option to do what we want to do, and that would leave those things that we can legally by law change. So again, we aren't making decisions tonight, we're just taking what you're saying under advisement.
Mr. Hahn?
As probably, I look around, maybe only Mr. Sweet and I are aware, this is what we used to do. We had member committees who struggled through getting it right, brought it to the board, and everybody knew what was going on.
And that's the
Why
big...
don't we return to that way of doing things properly?
And that's the big advantage, that members have input in, they can talk to a committee and spend, you know, they can talk to the board as well, but it maybe is easier to get to a committee as opposed to a board meeting. Has anybody else got anything to add?
The only thing I want to say is that this is not a homeowners association. We are a lot more than a homeowners association. We are a resort community that just happens to have residents in it. You know, I don't think that we should even look at following a homeowners association's rules.
I agree.
I agree.
But we don't have a choice.
Well, and we still, whether we all agree on that or not, we all may be wrong. I mean, we may have to follow some of them.
Homeowners associations have hotels.
Right.
Do they rent trailer spaces? Do they have golf courses and backcountry trails for hiking and biking and all of the things that we offer? I mean, we're a resort. We're not a homeowners association.
I know, but I like them.
The lady in the...
Has anyone asked the accountants if you're a homeowners association, you file one income tax, and if you're an association, recreational association, you file the other. If we're filing the wrong form, we need to consult with the IRS because they will straighten us out.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we'll go to discussion of Board of Directors' authority and direction on operations of the fort. And I'm not, what do we have there? I'm not sure, the attorney rewrote some of these things, and I'm not sure whose agenda items they might have put together on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
any of the organizations that I have been in and served as a director or a former person who was trying to form a cooperative or things of that nature, everything falls on the back of the board.
Amen.
The board of directors are either members, representatives to this association, and when we have problems, we need to be able to come to the board with our problems. It all falls on your back.
I agree with that. I think
We
that
all agree with that, I think.
the,
Again, if you're gonna go to HOA's theory thinking, this is what we done.
That's our official right now, unless somebody changes, that's what we have to go by, whatever is in here.
yeah, I'm not sure.
But I mean,
I'm
that's
not-
what we are right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we do,
I-
do we not? Do we not?
Something you have to decide, right?
We can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. On that second item, we have a DO. The board hired one. And according to what the HOA book says, we are self-managed by an employed manager.
Yeah, we don't need,
In a self-management by an employed manager system, a proper manager who may be either a full-time resident or non-resident is employed and paid by the homeowners association to implement board policy and oversee the day-to-day operation of the homeowners association. That's what it says.
How about trying that too?
and then the board needs to take more responsibility for.
That's different than running the place. All I'm saying is that we hired somebody, or the board hired somebody to run this place.
At our direction.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's what that means to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Mr. Jones, I guess.
A few years back, we came from a homeowners association up in Ohio. And we were on the board at one point. And then when we left the board and the new board came in, they didn't want to do anything. So they hired a management company to take care of business. Well, between the board and the management company, without any input from the members in the association, decided that they would take the common ground and be able to sell off various portions of the common ground. And of course, the homeowners owned a portion of that common ground. And they apparently changed the rules to suit the board and the management company, which was getting paid by the board through the homeowners, which kept raising the rates and dictating how the property that the homeowners owned was going to be utilized or sold off. And this is the sort of thing that when we're talking about the board of directors and the director of operations hiring, you have to be real careful that you don't undercut the members of the community.
Yeah, I think the board has given away more powers than it should in the past. Mr. Bowman.
You think this is a homeowners association? Show me the articles of incorporation for it. You don't have any.
That's not the discussion.
Mr. Sullivan.
The section that Mr. Herman refers to has some key words in it. Day-to-day operation. The day-to-day operation isn't deciding what hours the pool's going to be open. The day-to-day operations isn't deciding whether the Border Patrol is able to have their post-tournament barbecue as they have had traditionally on the grounds outside of the clubhouse. That's not day-to-day operation. And it can go on and on and on. The day-to-day operation isn't deciding which members can have access to a particular facilities and which members cannot have access to it. That's not day-to-day operation. Day-to-day operation may be deciding what time employee A reports for work and gets done, what employee B gets paid, and what employee C has the duties as. But this has gone far beyond that, far, far beyond it. And to be quite honest, as someone said, I'm damn mad about it. It's time this change and that the board stand up and take their responsibilities seriously and quit sloughing them off saying, oh, we hired a DO, let her do it.
They did hire a DO, and just a minute.
Don't just a minute me, Mr. Herman.
Would you calm your voice down, please?
Yes, you're the one screaming.
That's the mic. I'm sorry, I'm too close to the mic. A person was hired, and this is the way I understand how business works. A person was hired, whether it be here or at AT&T, was hired to run the day-to-day operation of what has to be done to get through a business day, no matter what that may be.
We don't debate that.
Right. You are saying that you want the board to do that. You have a person.
I'm saying certain things are day-to-day and certain things aren't. I don't know what your business background or experience is, but mine is extensive. And the things that I mentioned are not day-to-day operation. They're policy procedures.
Right, we have to set more of where we decide where policy is and where day-to-day is.
And my question, Mr. Sullivan, and it's just curiosity, just so I make sure I understand what you're saying so that when we take these things into consideration. You mentioned something about you didn't think that scheduling of venues and so forth was a day-to-day operation. But it's really difficult to get 5 board members together to go over the schedule and reserve different venues on the fort, which is why we believe that's part of the day-to-day operations of the fort, scheduling the different venues. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure the logistics involved in this, but it would be cumbersome to try and get 5 board members together to decide on which of 5 people get to use something. It's generally a first-come, first-served basis.
Am I off in space somewhere, or do you have a board meeting every month?
But that's one day.
Do you have a board meeting every month, yes or no? It's an easy
Yes,
question.
we do, and that's why I'm asking, because sometimes people come in and they would like to use something the following week before or after a board meeting before the next board meeting. So, I'm asking for an explanation. I'm not criticizing.
Are you talking
I'm
about
saying set
policy versus?
Let's talk about the swimming pool. The swimming pool that had the bar down, padlocked, chained on 8 o'clock Memorial Day. When you had guests at the motel that couldn't get down to the pool and use it, that were here for that weekend. You had families that wanted to have picnics down there that couldn't use it. Not this past Memorial Day, Memorial Day 2013. That's a policy change, changing his rules. When I called and inquired, I said, well, it's the new summer hours. We've changed them. Now, they backed off on that, as they backed off on a number of things. But the policy for the Border Bash and the Border Patrol, that's something that we know, well, it doesn't come here anymore because they had it after last year and they went up to Concan this year. I don't know if they'll ever come back again, and you may lose a Rio Grande one too for the same reason. I don't know what will happen there. But those are policy things, not just someone coming in and say, I want to use the facility next week.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
You had something to say, Myra?
No, I just said policy versus, and that's what you were saying.
Yes.
Mr. Rozetsky?
Yes, thank you. Day-to-day operations is an all-encompassing, tedious job to match compliance on state, federal, and local levels, not just the whimsical wants of a few who could come in and out at will that they used to. That ensures that the group party meeting on the 4th has event insurance, that the thousands of people that only use this place for one holiday out of the year pick up their own trash. That is a frustration that could make any of the best pressure cookers up. So take it easy when you ask somebody to take the helm and say, go for it, and do the best you can, and combine everything that you're doing with a stack of laws this high. And don't forget on page 8,342, oops, we forgot to make sure that this door was open. Thank you.
Ma'am.
It is my understanding that a manager is required to, should have, number one, should have a job description. Does our manager have a job description?
Not that I'm aware of.
So does it include
Yes, she does.
managing time, managing activities, managing all kinds of things, including money, which I'm sure that you are all most interested in. But a manager is supposed to do the job of managing, and in this situation, managing under the direction of the directors. It's my understanding that that's how it should happen. And I think that she, Jody, is doing an excellent job of managing.
I was just going to say that once you establish what day-to-day operations are, you have committees. You have a golf committee, you have a recreation committee, you have an architecture committee. And these committees should be able to do their jobs. That's what they do. That's why they're in place. And to bring that to a central point for any major decisions. But I mean, if the golf course committee decides that they want to have the tournament here and allow the people to have their barbecue out there, I think the golf committee should have some input in that, because that's what they do. The manager is the manager and delegates to these committees, and I think the committee should have some input to do their jobs.
And I think that's
Thanks,
something the
Steve.
board has not done, that's been negligent in us as a board, is we've never really defined what the district manager, the director of operations job is. I don't know that we have or not, but that's why we're having this discussion, so we can figure it out.
Well, actually, it is discussed in our bylaws on page 13 under Article 7, miscellaneous duties of the Director of Operations. So, do you want me to read that, or do you care? It's very short.
No. Read it. Read it. No.
It's not very long, okay?
She's not happy, but she reads something, so.
Let's let Ms. Hagan read.
Duties of the Director of Operations. The Director of Operations will have the full power and authority of the Board of Directors in the management of the business and affairs of the association, with the exception of the following, which would need Board of Director approval. Contract for a period in excess of 3 months or a value of $1,000. Any single purchase over $1,000 other than day-to-day operational supplies hereby defined as office supplies for resale, gasoline, diesel fuel, maintenance, and repair supplies, etc. Changes to bylaws or rules and regulations. Enter into lease or sale agreement for the association property other than memberships and lot selections or equipment. Grant easements and right-of-ways. Borrow money and incur long-term indebtedness. Bring legal action. Appoint committees. All of those items I just read need Board of Director approval. Other than that, everything else is part of the duty of the Director of Operations. That's in our bylaws.
And that's been changed several times over the
And that
last
could
period
be,
of years, so.
we will have to look up those changes and
Different.
see if they're, as Mr. Hahn said, filed with the courthouse.
Well, I mean, this one is filed with the courthouse, and this is the only one that counts.
Then
But they
this
have
is it.
changed the powers and duties of the Director of Operations numerous times over the last few years, I think since 2000 maybe.
This is the current one.
This is the
Right,
current
this
one.
is it, right.
That's the one we live in.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
this is the one that was signed 18 June 2011.
Right.
So it is the most current one.
That's actually an amendment 0406, done, I believe, in 2006. And it's arguably not in compliance with our declarations. The granting of the full powers of the board. Although the board is authorized to delegate its authority from time to time, that does not authorize it to just give away carte blanche its total authority to one individual. So that's something that certainly could be argued. And this is maybe not the time or place, but that is simply an amendment. That's not the original job description for the general manager, which was in change of director of operations.
Right, that, he is correct, and that's when they did it, is in '06. They
Right.
adopted this one here, and it's been that way since '06, so. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have something to say. This is the first time I come to a meeting. I've never been here before, but a lot of these members from, I don't know, supplies the way some of these people are. But my thing is that I've lived in the port for 16 years, and it has always been a good place to live. But lately, before she came in, it was dirty, there was a lot of traffic, a lot of crime. Workers were standing everywhere, cruising around, doing no trash everywhere. When she came in, we were stunned, well, I was, because I was saying, wow, it's looking cleaner, it's looking decent. I'm taking pride in living in this port. And yes, maybe there's some rules that to change, but it's not gonna take very much for 7 board members to sit with her and say, hey, why don't we change it back to this? That's it. But we have a good lady working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go on.
I guess we can go to a discussion on formation of ad hoc committees. And I think that's what a lot of we've been talking about on the previous things, is have different committees and different groups helping assist the board and the fort come up with changes on it. You guys got anything you want to add to that?
Well, we have, 5 committees, right now? Do the members have any ideas for additional committees?
What are they?
Let's see, there's golf.
Architect,
Golf.
excuse me. Architect committee,
There's the golf
golf
committee.
committee,
Architectural
The
committee.
pres-
All committees. That's it?
no, the preservation
Come on, that's.
has to be looked at the next board meeting to approve the proposal on that one. And I'm not sure what the other ones are. I mean, there's a lot of, there's, you know,
I'd like to,
I'm
I'd
sorry?
like to point out.
well, recycling.
I'd like to point out that an ad hoc committee,
Is this on? Yes.
and you're hearing me, wow. An ad hoc committee is a committee that is seated for a particular purpose and then they go away. And I like those kind of committees a lot.
Our committees, ladies and gentlemen, are the recycle, golf, architectural, community council, and preservation and repair. Just,
Community council's not a committee.
well, it's one of the committees that reports to the board.
It's not a committee. Madam,
Okay, community council is, reports to the board. Call it what you would like, Mr. Hahn. It's still one of those.
The community
that-
council does not report to the board. The community council is a public charity that has no connection with Fort Clark Springs Association legally.
I beg your pardon? Every member here is a member of the community council and has a right to come to their meetings and
That's not
voice
what I
their
said,
opinion.
madam. That's not what I said.
No, I think the community council, even though it's associated with the fort, and they do deal with the fort a lot, they're their own standalone
501c3.
company, organization. They're, you know, they could decide to do anything they wanted to. They're not necessarily tied to the fort. They are, because the fort, community council was formed, I guess, to combat Matt Mendelson early in the history of the fort, the way I've heard it. I don't know. but then it's developed into whatever it is now, but it is its own standalone company and entity. It doesn't, nobody can tell it what to do or what not to do or disband it. Community council is their own company.
That's true, I did misspeak on that one. I meant that they're one that reported every board meeting for us. So are there other I'm sorry, Diane, what?
Council, I said, always asks for approval on any project that they are working on. At the present time, they're working on the spring carnival thing. And they come to the board and ask for approval on everything. Is that not right, Sherry?
Yes, and every person in here that's a member of the board is welcome to come to the community council and voice their opinions or gripes.
Material, it's
We
irrelevant.
do not do anything about it.
That, you know, you could almost say that the community council is an ad hoc committee, because if they have a particular issue, well, in terms of a particular item that they're working on. In other words, if they had a meeting and people were complaining about the traffic problems, they could meet, come up with different suggestions, plan, and then present it to the board. Once it's presented, and any action or no action taken, depending on what it is, that committee is gone, and then they have a meeting and they do another one.
So do you have suggestions for different other committees other than, well, we'll take community council out, other than preservation and repair, recycle, golf, and architectural?
Finance and personnel.
Right, I have several of those, like, you know, recreation, temporary recreation,
I think we had a recreation committee and then.
well, but this is a temporary ad hoc deal made up by the members to report to the board, for example, on what they want to see for recreation or what they want to see for this. And it would only be,
Absolutely agree we need to reinstate a recreation committee, especially with the advertising we're doing.
and a variety of other different types of things. It could be useful for a while and then would disband. They wouldn't be a necessary standing committee.
Well, and also because we're getting younger families with children. Like this morning, I worked with the youth golf clinic, and their families live on the fort, so we're getting some younger families. The adult center, it would be nice if we had a recreation committee to help our event coordinator come up with some scheduled activities for all age groups, teens, children, seniors like most of us, and so forth, to actually work on creating some programs there. We had a recreation committee and it sort of fell apart, so I absolutely agree that that would be a good one to reinstate, but as a permanent committee, not as necessarily ad hoc.
Mr. Bowman.
Two things, community council is a 501c4 corporation. The other thing is, no one is allowed in the adult center under the age of 18, according to your rules and regulations.
Ms. Isaac?
There used to be a planning committee, and it disbanded when they could get no guidance from the board. And we asked for 4 months for guidance from the board, and we did not get it, and they disbanded back in 2008.
Yep.
I was on that committee. We couldn't get any help from anybody, and so we decided we're done.
Any help in what
The
way?
board.
Oh, I'm only asking, I didn't know.
We would make suggestions, and we would ask this and that and the other. We don't have money to spend, we can't do it, so we come up here and we spend an hour not knowing what they wanted us to look at. They wouldn't guide us, and it just went. It was a total waste of our time.
The only committee that is in the Articles of Incorporation and in everyone's CC&Rs is the Architectural Committee. All the other committees have come into being over time. The original Planning Committee planned in its entirety. Unit 34, Unit 36, the units out around the RV park, they planned the RV park. They went out of business because, as the ladies have just said, absolutely, not only was there no guidance from the board totally ignored the recommendations of the Planning Committee. The last Planning Committee, which dissolved itself out of sheer frustration in 2008, had a structure that covered every single thing in the resolution all the facilities, all the activities on the fort, all the other groups on the fort, everything, with people assigned. We worked our asses off coming up with things that the board totally blew off and did nothing. I would suggest you don't even form another planning committee, because you would be wasting members' time unless you're committed to listening to what that committee comes up with.
And I think the committee should be formed more or less by the members. I mean, with direction under the board is what maybe put somebody in charge of it, but I would like to hear more from the members, and I don't have enough time to go to everybody's house and listen to them, what they think we ought to do to the fort, what's good or bad. But I would like to hear from the members and find out what we can do better, what we need to do. So, it's hard for any one group or committee to do the whole fort. There should be several of them, I think, possibly, and maybe only a short-term interim type deal to get things, decide whether we're doing good or not good. Yes, Miss?
Toby, I believe that's the mission of community council at its core, is to serve as the voice of the members. And you were there on Saturday. Did you gain from listening? Was that not a means by which you could take in comments or input from?
Yes.
And that's what I've always understood at its heart was the mission of community council.
Me?
Yeah.
I want to go back to the planning committee thing. If you were to organize a planning committee as an ad hoc committee and say, we would like a planning committee that would work on developing some ideas or some concrete solutions to blank, then the committee would think that they had some direction from you as a board, and they would work on it, and then they'd come back to you and hopefully get some kind of response from it. And we made up our own, you know, as Mr. Hahn said, we worked on all kinds of things because we made up our own ideas. But then we got absolutely no response, and y'all weren't on the board then. But if you gave us a job, we would do it, and then we'd come back to you, or whoever's on the committee.
Yep.
It was a really hard working group. It was fun.
Try again.
Yeah, but it may be something we want to look at again. That's why we have it on here for this.
I'm toasted.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, just because it didn't work before for whatever reason, obviously I wasn't even here in 2008, doesn't mean we can't try it again, and this time it'll be successful. So, you know, and just like with the golf course, when I first got here, they said, no, it won't work. We tried resodding 10 once before, and it died, but now we've got sod out there, we got grass growing, so we tried again, and this time it worked. So if a planning committee is something you think would be valuable, it's certainly something that we'd be happy to take under consideration, because these are only 5 brains right here, and we've got 1,000 brains out there to give us some ideas. Okay.
That was the key. The downfall of the planning committee was always it became the idea committee. It didn't come up with a plan. It gave the board an idea, and then got all upset when the board didn't accept the idea. The issue is a plan from soup to nuts to do something, to change something, do something better, not ideas.
I agree with that. Yeah. I do too. Okay, next on our list is discussion of various activities at the fort and fundraising events. Did somebody?
No, I didn't. This is, I think, where he lumped in. This is, I think, where our attorney lumped in the duck inn, the pool, the adult center, the other venues. some of which are income generating venues.
Yeah, I don't know about the fundraising events part. But for, for an ad hoc committee, I think it'd be neat if a group would do some planning for our pool. In other words, one group could go down and contact some of these major swim pool companies like Leslie's or some of the others. Invite them out to see what they could do for our pool as far as making it a swimming pool during these drought occasions. In other words, have a circulating pump and treatment of the water and have that crystal blue water that we would like to see. Then when the springs start flowing again, we can revert back to the pool we have now. But that's where you need people to research it on. There may not be anything there.
I think what you need is a historic.
Why don't you make it like Valmarais is? They don't drain it and clean it every month or every week. It's just a pool.
That's fishing.
Has a dirt bottom too and fishing.
You bet.
I've been to Valmarais, and the water runs in one end and out the other, and it's not really a pool like we have. Theirs is concreted in, and theirs is, you go out and got a gravel floor, so it's a hole that's got dirt in it, the water comes in, goes out, and got fish in it, you swim in the fish, if you don't like it. I don't think we can do like Valmarais.
I think that you need to clean it because if you've ever tried to walk on the bottom, when you're out there swimming, you can't stand up because things grow.
Since 2014 is the 75th anniversary, the silver anniversary of our swimming pool, what are we going to do to promote that and celebrate that milestone?
What was it this year? 2014? Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I had no idea.
2 years ago.
Well, I guess you don't read all my emails.
We have to
I guess-
remember too that the water from here goes down the creek.
Yes.
And you cannot put a lot of chlorine in it or a lot of things like that to make it crystal clear when you're gonna empty it into the creek. And
Right.
that's going downstream.
Yes, the Texas water quality people would be very upset with us if we did that. And so would the ranches downstream from us whose cattle drink that water, so.
It's not going very far.
Well, that's why a committee needs to look at this and come up with all the pros and cons. For example, if the water were pumped into our sewer system, then it could be used down to the sewer plant, then used for watering the golf course and lots of other things. During the drought season, they don't get enough water down there.
You can't stop the flow of the water, that's what
We
you're doing.
can't stop the flow.
There's been a pool there since 1902. The current pool was built in 1939. The bottom was painted sky blue by the Army, so the water was blue. It's a flow-through system. We lost the pool in 1996, the summer of '96. We bought water from Fort Clark Mud, 1 million gallons every 2 weeks. We shocked the water. Of course, we got out the diapers and the other things that some of the people who come here like to leave in the water. And then it rained. Between 1996 and last year, our maintenance department cut the 8-inch pipe. Just cut it. So water can't be purchased from mud to put into the pool if we have a drought, because our maintenance department cut the pipe. Last year, they were trying to put water in the pool with hoses, garden hoses.
Oh, my God.
And then the next day, and there was a big stink about, we're going to close the pool for the summer, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And guess what happened the next day? It rained. It will rain. It always has rained.
Now, when I first got here back in '86, it was nice. Well, okay, basically what it is, the time they put the chemicals in, they usually just use chlorine to wash it down. Usually the time you get halfway full, you're white. But anyways, by the time it dissipates through the air and through the water, you ain't killing a fish downstream, because by the time it gets down there, it's already dissipated.
That's
They've
right.
been using the chlorine or whatever for years and years when I first got here. And it's only gone, you know, it's not, when you first get out, it got a sign. Because when you go in, like you're an idiot. But other than that, it usually dissipates by the time it gets down to the pool. I've never seen no fish belly up and.
No, it
Well,
doesn't.
if you treat it daily, you ain't gonna treat it daily because you got.
You know,
flow.
that's very possible and very true, and I'm not disputing one bit what you're saying, but have the rules changed since then?
What, the EPA? Yeah, probably.
Well, so, therefore, and I'm just using this as a scenario, and I'm not even saying that this is true or not, but just as a point of information or interest. If what you say is true, that they did chlorine the water, and then eventually it was pumped downstream. Well, if the EPA and TXEQ or all these other groups, whoever they are, say, you cannot do that anymore. It's against the law. There goes the theory of using chlorine in the water. That's all I'm saying. Right or wrong, that's not the point. It's just that rules and regulations and laws have changed since then.
Just so you all know, we still do chlorine in that thing. We drain it out, we run chlorine on the walls, on the bottom, we whitens it up, and then we refill. By the time, just like Pete says, by the time it's up, it's already dissipated, it's fine. But it does run out of the spring, right through the pool and out the creek, so we cannot put in, TCEQ has told me, we cannot put any other chemical in it. We can't shock it, we can't put blue dye in it unless it's not harmful to the fish and the plants and all that good stuff. We had a low Saturday, and we pumped out of our spring into the pool with 2 4-inch lines and a pump. And like Mr. Hahn said, the next day it didn't rain, but we quit pumping it when it was about a foot low, and by the next day we're full. So we do clean it, but if we go without more than 1 week cleaning it, I get 15 phone calls about how dirty it is, and the only reason people are here is for the pool. Why am I not doing my job?
Why did they cut the water line anyways?
I have no-
Specific reason, or they just?
No idea. It was done before I was here, I think.
What would that make water pump for here?
What type of activities, what would you like to see around the pool? I mean, let's assume we have water and we want to run some activities down there. This sounds like something for the recreation committee.
Right.
But if any of you have some ideas of how we can better utilize that area, swim classes or monthly barbecues or whatever. I mean, we'd like to get some ideas on how to better use that beautiful space we have down there now that they've trimmed the trees up and everything's looking really good.
How about a baiting unit contest?
At Fort Stockton every year, they have the water carnival, which of course my grandsons are normally in, so you have to go see that. But I mean, it's really cool, and especially if it's for the 75th anniversary, you know, maybe you can contact the people there at Fort Stockton about the water carnival and see it on the shallow end, especially on this end. I was there Saturday, and may I say, I so enjoyed the pool. That thing is humongous. I mean, it's extremely hard to swim in. Here, it was just, God, I hadn't had so much exercise. But anyway, but I mean, you might can contact the water carnival people there in Fort Stockton to see what kind of features they've got, since I mean, Odessa, I don't get to go to these things, you know, to see what kind of things that might be fun for a weekend deal for the anniversary there. And have the people of the little kids, you know, coming there all dressed up and, you know, doing their little shows and this, that, and the other of the deal there. And I mean, it's a blast, especially if it says it's audience participation.
Okay, well, how do you feel about charging non-members for use of the pool?
I think that'd be great. You bet.
We're paying for it anyway. We're paying for it. Why can't just come in, swim for free? Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
That's one of the things that we're talking about committees for,
Right.
to bring stuff like that to us and so we could act on it. I guess when we go to our discussion on formation of a planning committee, we've kind of already talked about that a little bit, haven't we?
This whole thing is.
We have discussion on the reinstatement of Trent Brown as a golf pro.
We can't talk about that.
That's really a personnel issue.
That's a
really.
personnel issue.
I'm not sure why it was put on the
I don't.
agenda. It's something we can definitely address, but this is not the place to do it.
How about just having a golf pro?
Again, we need to.
That's a,
No, I mean, golf pro you pay, and we need a budget for that, to pay a golf pro. You mean like advertised for one and.
Well, I don't know who put this on here, one of us did, I mean.
It was B, I believe.
But anyway, even if we can't talk about an individual, we can decide, do we need a golf pro at the golf course? Money being no object, I mean, do we need one or not need one? Then if we do need one, then we have to figure out how we can get one.
Well, a lot of golf courses, your golf pro also manages your pro shop and sometimes acts as course superintendent. But you're going to pay for something like that. And I'm not sure we, at least right now, have the budget for it. That is, wouldn't rule it out. We're kind of, well, not necessarily kind of small, but let's just say still developing golf course. And there are a lot of changes we could make to probably enhance our golf course, although our numbers are picking up with the golf course in better condition.
Well,
but as far as just discussing one person, that is a personnel issue, and I was really kind of surprised to see it put on the agenda because I don't know how Trent feels, but I wouldn't want me discussed in front of the whole membership when it came to personnel matters. So that's, personnel matters are confidential both by state law and federal law. So just.
What would constitute a golf pro? Is that somebody that's carrying a pro card that goes to tournaments and is a professional golfer?
Well, you have touring pros, and of course Trent can answer these questions better, but you have touring pros that play in tournaments, you have teaching pros that work at golf courses. And golf courses handle that issue of pro differently. I called some of the local golf courses around here, and out of 5 courses, all 5 of them did it a little bit differently. From Concan being, one of their pros was a direct employee, the other one was a subcontract who paid a percentage of his teaching fees and so forth back to the golf course. Uvalde, the pro there, is the recreation manager for the entire city, so he's a direct employee over at the golf course at Uvalde. So it kind of depends on whether we can afford a golf pro, whether we need one.
And what is the definition?
And what we would have a golf pro do here. But to talk about one person in particular, and no offense to Trent, he gave me lessons, and I've had lessons from like 5 different instructors, and that's one of the best instructors that I've had. So no offense to Trent, but this is a personnel manager. As far as this particular item, reinstatement, that's a personnel issue, and doesn't belong here in a workshop.
Well, we might need to put it on in executive session for the next Saturday meeting. You know.
Yeah. Frankly, I think that a golf pro as an employee should be hired by the manager. By the manager who would be hiring the top employees of each group of activities. For instance, the swimming pool, the golf course, the card room, you know, and I think that the manager should be the one that should do the hiring, number 1. And number 2, I think that we should strike this from the agenda for tonight's discussion. Does anybody else agree with me?
Yes, it shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be discussed. It's a personnel issue, hiring issue, salary issue, and that should not be discussed here. It's an executive session decision.
Yeah, the lawyer looked at it and he put it on there, so.
Well, he put them all on there. I called and asked him about that one simply because of the confidentiality involved with hiring, firing employees, reinstating, whatever. And he said he did not even try to weed out anything here. He just put in here what we asked him to, and he just tried to put them together, and so we didn't have 50 of them, you know. He grouped them together in logical order.
Okay, we'll go on to discussion of the Fort budget, expenditures, loans, and rate interest.
That, to me, again, that goes into executive session if you're gonna be talking about budgets and monies.
But we do have some stuff on that.
I didn't say that, I just said we have to figure it out and present it.
We probably need to look, I was surprised, I guess we're buying power directly from CP&L or AEP. I don't know what our rates, if we could get a better rate by shopping, because at some places on the fort, if you buy power from Rio Grande, you have to buy power from them. But on AEP, you can choose your provider. Now,
Do we have a contract?
I don't know, that's
Well,
what
that's what we need to
we're
find out.
discussing right now.
So we can't do anything with this until we have all the facts.
I can give you just
We're not
basic
doing it.
information though.
We're not doing anything.
Well, now.
Yeah, but it shouldn't even be brought up here, because what can we do about it?
You can discuss it.
Discuss what?
Hold on,
To look
everybody.
someplace else?
Hold on.
Do we have a contract with
Hold on,
AEP?
Hold on, everybody here, we're not gonna get into a shouting match and throwing shoes.
answering your question back there.
You have a contract until 2017 with AEP, CP&L,
Oh, okay.
and you can shop around, which is probably a wise decision, but you can't shop around with Rio Grande.
No,
Too bad. I'm sick of them.
yeah, Rio Grande is, you have to buy power from Rio Grande no matter what. So we do have a contract then.
Okay, so what Jody said, in case you didn't hear, is until 2017, we have a contract with CPL. We do not have a contract with Rio Grande, but we don't have any options there. And I am on Rio Grande Electric, and I asked when we first moved here about whether I could contract with one of the independent, lower priced electrical companies, and was told a flat no, I could not. And it was sticker shock moving here from Idaho with hydroelectric power down here to Texas. But I can tell you this, CPL, we are paying 0.108 per kilowatt hour.
10.8 cents.
So basically, I mean, that's basically 11 cents, but it's actually 10. And after a lot of kilowatt hours, that small fraction mounts up. With Rio Grande Electric, let's see, this year we paid 0.1539, so 15.39 cents per kilowatt hour. Last year we paid 13.85 cents per kilowatt hour, so considerably higher under Rio Grande Electric.
I get my personal one into business from Oasis Co-op, and it's the only non-profit retailer of electricity in Texas. Now, once a year, they give you a rebate on how well they did. They divide it up. Like my house, I had a credit of $37 last Christmas. In the pharmacy, I think, I had a $26 electric bill. So that would be a good one to check. And I think I'm paying, started off at 9 cents, but now it's up to 11, I think. But
I need to tell you that I came here from another place in Texas, and you'd be surprised. It's a lot lower here.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Rio Grande, believe it or not.
Well, but then we're locked in at till 2017, so.
Yeah, there's
we
not
can't
much
do
we can do about it.
question, really.
Did you want me to go over this loan stuff?
Well, I don't know, that was, so we can discuss it. I mean, what do we want to do with stuff like that? We don't have to discuss exact numbers or put them in either one. No. We don't, you know, the higher interest rate loans, do we want to consolidate them, think about it, see if we can get something different on them, pay them off, what?
Well, I collected a bunch of information, and to pay off all of our outstanding loans, we've got 2 Chevy trucks that's at a 9% interest rate that still have $10,481.78 owed on the both of them. There's a Ford truck at a 3.9% interest rate that has only $2,492 left. We've got a couple of bank and trust loans. Both of these loans were set up before any of these board members were here. This is 2008. One of the original loans was for $177,000, and it was for a long, large list of heavy equipment. And of that $177,000 from 2008, we still owe $19,094.10 at 7%. There was a second loan for $34,000 and some cents, $34,095.72, again, for equipment. We only have $1,445.19 left on that, which is one more payment at a 7% rate. If you total up all those loans, the payoff on those $33,513.07. Now, it's $33,000 is probably more money than we have right now. We've got swim park payroll this summer that will increase our expenses. September, we have $50,000 for an insurance down payment due. In October, it's a 3 payroll month, and property taxes of about $120,000 are also due. And you should know that as of January 1st, 2015, we will start being penalized by the Affordable Care Act if we do not provide health insurance for our full-time and full-time equivalent employees. So we have these large, and if we don't supply it, we're fined. So we have these large expenses coming up, though. We may be able to pay off some of the smaller loans, like the Ford truck for $2,500, and that, of course, that last one payment that's due on that $34,000 loan.
And the ones we're paying the 9% on, we should be able to redo that possibly.
We have, there's still $10,481 on that. It would depend on what will be required to actually consolidate or refine or redo those, renegotiate those, and it may cost us,
I think we should look into that to see if it will cost us that money. If it doesn't cost us.
Into it. But obviously, we've got one more payment on that one loan from 2009 for the heavy equipment of $1,445, and that's going to be paid off with the next payment. So that one's gone. And we still owe $19,000 on that one, but we have that Ford truck we could probably maybe pay off for the basically $2,500.
Yeah, that one and the 9%, we should, I think, should look at those to start with and see what we can do there.
See what we can do on those. But just letting you know that they are getting paid down, and that $177,000 was a monster loan. So we do have a list of all of the things included in that. I don't think you want me to read that off, do you?
No.
Thank you. I didn't want to. Okay.
Then I have discussion of Ford auditors and financial issues and reports. And I thought we should probably have I put this on there, and what I was thinking about was at some point in time, talking to the auditors and seeing when they could be at the fort and have a explanation of the audit to the members and with the bookkeeping staff, so they could go back and forth. And any questions about the financial issues that we have, we could ask the auditors and bookkeeping staff right away, right there. Wouldn't be get back to us. They could be prepared to kind of a workshop for that, and that alone. But we'd have to schedule it with the auditors, find out if they'd come down and do that and how we should handle that.
Is the audit finished?
Yes. Yeah, there's a copy at the front desk.
Mixing those two doesn't make sense.
Okay, no, you're correct.
Well, I think mixing the two, first of all, auditors come in outside for obvious reasons because they are not supposed to be involved in the daily financial procedures. So you don't want to mix these two. If you have some problem with the audit, then that's different. But if you are going to talk about business practices, then you need to bring your business people in. They've been in a couple of times, and I don't think the questions have been very astute that have been asked them. If people knew ahead of time maybe that they were coming in, and you could say, for instance, what kinds of questions they would be able to answer, that would be different from, I don't think we want the outside auditors to come in and get mixed up in the inside practices. Then we'll have to hire a different auditor.
No, that's correct. They jumped those together on there, but I was thinking if we contacted the auditors to come down, and even
They
send
will
them,
charge us, you do know that.
and we can find that fee out too. But they, we could maybe have people submit a list of questions to us, or they could answer them online for us if they wanted to. Or have them come here and, have a question and answer center with the members over the audit, if there's enough interest in that. Anything?
Can our bookkeeper answer our question?
But not about the audit, probably.
But the day-to-day running, our bookkeeper can answer any questions, right?
Right, yep.
Okay, an auditor comes in and checks your book, random checks them, and they're gone. They are not to,
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, it's worth discussing. I mean, I get the impression that the members weren't entirely, didn't feel like they got enough information from the auditor at the informational meeting we had in March. So it might be something to look into, and, first of all, again, we have to be budget conscious, make sure that this is something that we want to do, but it's worth discussing.
Might I add that if you want a copy of the audit, you can get one at the office, and it will cost you, but you're certainly able to get one. And then if you have any questions, you can go from there.
And surprisingly, very few people had asked for a copy of the audit.
how did we know it was there?
It was announced at the meeting, at the
Information meeting.
informational meeting
I'm
in
not,
March.
we announced it.
And I think it was announced.
Sometime recently.
Yeah, one
I
of the
don't
board
remember,
meetings, I
but-
think
And
it was
we-
mentioned that, yeah. Somebody asked the question and was told that was up front.
Yeah, so it's up front if you want one. And I don't know what the cost is, so. $5.
I don't know about that.
That's what someone told me.
It should be
Is
so
that
much.
what it is, Monique?
It's something, is that what it is?
It was $5.40 for a copy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes. We're not down to discussion of an emergency response plan, but I have to leave. So I did want to say that there was a county-wide meeting covering this kind of information. And I sat in on it. And the people at the fort are supposed to be going to the adult center if there is a big emergency happening here, such as, for instance, a flood or a tornado or something like that that's coming in. Did anybody else sit on that committee?
I don't think so, because I seem to remember hearing something about in that past years, but I don't.
There was a county-wide group that met, that talked about all the different areas and the things that they're supposed to be doing. So you might want to call the fire department or the police department and see if there is a plan in effect. But I do know that the people at the fort were supposed to go to the adult center and stay there during the course of the action that required them to be there in the first place.
Thank you.
So, that information had
I want to get back to the,
Yeah, we can.
Two more.
auditor's reports and things like that. The next item down is, should all 4 related documents be online? And I say, yes, definitely. There's no reason we should pay $5 to still on computers anyway. Throw it into a base. We can sign into it using our member number. That way it's not open to absolutely everybody across the county. And we can see what's going on. And this touches on one of my very pet peeves, and that is the total lack of, apparently, of communication. Going to the point of you can't get anybody at the front office to answer the telephone. You get a robophone, and then you go to voicemail. And many times, voicemail box is full. You can't talk to somebody.
One more question, yeah.
I have a question regarding the audit, and it's one you can maybe get an answer for. I just wonder how the cost of our audit compares to the cost of audits for other entities that are similar in size and complexity. I've heard things, and I have no way of knowing, but like the school district's audit is much, much less than ours. And so I'm wondering how that would compare, and if there is a discrepancy or difference there, what the explanation would be for that. That's all.
Okay.
And I apologize if I yelled a little before I get passionate.
So do I.
You're a golfer, I understand.
Mr. Herman suggested, would you like to have a 5 or 10 minute break and get a drink of water or not?
No.
Okay.
Just a quick comment, because we are a Texas nonprofit corporation, our audit is required to be available for public inspection in the offices of the corporation. Public inspection, not just members. And to put it on the website that's a no-brainer. Put it on the website. And there should be a member portal on the website so members can get to things like their account to see if they have any past due amounts. That should all be very uncomplicated to be able to do that on our website.
Can we get to documents?
Which brings us down to our next discussion of a plan to set up all Fort-related documents online.
Absolutely.
And that was my item on there. I think every governing document the Fort has, ever had, or does have now, anything that we use to have rules, regulations, or govern ourselves with, including our financials, should be online. I think it should be scanned and put on there.
We do have, and you can go to the website, and we do have, I know you can't read these, but it's a long list of documents that are already online. And they include the auto draft form, the board meeting agendas, minutes, schedules, building permits, bylaws, candidates data sheet, CC&Rs, community announcements, declarations, employment applications, hunting guidelines, membership forms, monthly calendars, recycling guidelines, renters registrations, rules and regulations, and Texas Penal Code elements. So if there's...
How does a member get hold of a list like that?
This was just, it's on the website.
That's what I'm asking. You need to tell them.
Yeah, it's go into and look for documents. There's on the far right-hand side of the webpage, it says documents. You can't see it here. But on the far right-hand side of the page, it says documents, and when you go pull up the web page, it should be there.
It's on my
Mr. President and the board, what plans do you have to communicate with people who do not have computers? There are many. Now, I don't have a computer by choice. I don't want my name floating around everywhere. The library is available.
Right, I mean, people can use the library, or however, they can come down here and request those documents as well, because they are public documents. But we should have every governing document, anything that we've got that's recorded at the courthouse should be on our website. And if it's not recorded at the courthouse, it's probably not worth having anyway.
Well, I've been told that this information is out on email. Well, I don't have email, so how am I going to get information?
We should probably continue. Do we not continue with our little bugler flyer anymore?
Well, Mr. Robertson just said that you can come in and ask for one.
To the office.
Yeah, come to the office and ask for a copy.
All right, there's not any sort of a document. We used to have pickup papers up at right here by the parking lot, and there used to be a communication. And now we don't have that information anymore.
I think we should I would be in favor of what our little newsletter is, be able to print a few of them out, not necessarily do a whole print run, but I don't know how easy it is to print from that, but we could put 15 of them in the office or something. Okay, so she's saying that Chata does that. You can stop up there at the office and get one of those communications already.
We used to be able to know who was paying their membership fees and who was not. And I wonder if that is maybe not allowed, but it irritates me that there are so many people who don't pay their membership fees, and we don't have any way of knowing who they are.
I don't
know
think
if
you
we
can
can-
legally do that. That comes in the Privacy Act, I believe.
I'm not sure if we can or not, but we can check on that. I belong to a homeowners association in Peru, and ours are on the website. We have all our financials on the website, and anybody that's a nickel late is on that website as
I would
well.
like to see that.
I'll send you a
It
link.
might make a difference where I eat dinner.
Who?
209 states that the Property Owners Association may not make available any debt of a member. However, since our bylaws specifically mandatorily require a lien to be filed when there's debt, which would mean that everyone that is in debt to us, the total number, let's just take as an example the over 1,000 inactive members, I should be able to go to the courthouse and find 1,000 liens filed. I'd be lucky if there's 6. But that's how you would find out from a public information standpoint if somebody owed the association money, because a lien, and I think the language in the bylaws, it's mandatory, not discretionary.
That's exactly right.
At the 30-day mark. And again, the number of people who are in debt to the Property Owners Association should match the number of liens filed in the courthouse. Not even close.
Does it cost?
We're
something
still
to
working on that, Bill.
What does it cost to file?
The figures I don't know, but you have to file a lien, you have to pay for it.
We have to pay a lawyer.
Man, we've been working on it longer than the Israelites wandered in the desert.
And that is right. It should have been started years ago and nobody did anything about it. So we're trying to make up for lost time.
It's been in the Declaration since the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, but if it wasn't being done before, what can we do?
Let's,
Fire people that didn't do it.
They're not here now.
They're already gone.
excuse me, let's not be getting into an argument back and forth.
Yes, you're right.
Did you have something to say there? Did you want to? Oh, I guess not.
But I didn't get my question answered. Do we have to have a lawyer, and does it cost money to file a lien?
No.
It does
Yes.
cost money.
No, yes.
How much is it?
What does that mean? You don't have to have a lawyer?
That's
No, you just pay for the lien.
right.
File
Filing.
a lien.
You file the lien at the courthouse?
Yeah, it's a court cost, like anytime you file something, that, believe me, the court's gonna
I
charge
can
you
do
for
that,
it.
I don't have to have a lawyer. Oh, that's good.
Okay, we did discussion of utility rate providers. We already did that. Emergency response plan or plan at the fort. Does anybody have anything to add to any of that, or?
Well,
The only
Is that, we probably should have something set up on the fort.
Right. I brought that up, and I'll tell you why, because I live at the back of the fort on on Fairway Circle. And we had tornado warnings a couple of weeks ago. And back there you can't hear the sirens unless you have a radio or you got your phone on or the weather channel. And if it rains hard, of course, satellite goes down. But I've always been told that we need to go to the adult center. Well, you know, if you've got 1,000 people on the fort, they've got to have some place to go, and the adult center is not going to house them all. And no, and so my concern was twofold, and again, this is a money issue as far as installing another siren in the back of the fort, because since the sirens were installed toward the front, the fort has expanded toward the back, and there are a lot of people that live back there. Now people have smartphones and computers and all this kind of thing, so. But also, it was my thought, and this may not be feasible, but I think it's worth at least talking about, is we have those bunkers there that are certainly tornado proof unless we have a F6 or something. They have stuff in them. It would probably take a lot of volunteers to clean them out, paint them white so that you could see inside. And it was, Jody mentioned that there's no power there, but power is going to go out in a severe storm anyway. So as long as you have lanterns and cots, water and so forth, and have security go to those bunkers if we do have a severe weather alert, so that we can increase the amount of protection for the people on the fort. So I know they had a tornado here one year, and it's been a long time ago, knock wood, but I just thought it might be something for discussion to see if maybe we can utilize some of the things we have on the fort.
One thing would be parking and getting there, traffic direction, if many people come, and then how would Matt know, how would the security know when it, when you open them up? How would you, we'd have to figure out some way to...
Well, security evidently monitors the weather or gets it from Caney County Sheriff's Department, because when there's a tornado warning, the siren goes.
What I was getting at is, what if I get scared every time I see a cloudy raindrop and I want to run over there? How do you know when it's close enough to have? We'd have to figure some way out to.
Yes,
Okay.
That would be the reason for the siren, because the siren goes
I don't
off
think
in
that
severe weather.
I don't think everybody translates the siren into something minor or something major. When somebody, I have someone who lives handy by, who says whenever the whenever the siren goes off, it must be time to find a place. And I've lived in Tornado Alley all my life, and I'm not going anywhere because it's either going to find me or it's not. I'm sorry, that's kind of how I feel about it.
That's right. When it's your
But
time
there's really very, I'd be afraid people would get caught on the road going to the, wherever it is they're going.
That's always a case, but then there are people without shelter. We do have mobile homes on the park. We have families with young children. We do not have basements.
Home.
So I think it's something at least worth
I have
talking.
a red X on top of it.
The question about this thing to me would be, not that we don't do anything, but we ought to find out from the county what plan is already in effect, and then work from that. I mean, we don't want, first of all, we don't want to duplicate what they already have in steps that they're doing. So we need to find out what plan did they come up with in this meeting that they had, or committee that they had, and what are the procedures that they do. Then we can work from there to say, this is what we have to do.
They had a meeting, did we send a representative to it?
I don't know.
The county has had an emergency management coordinator, an employee for many, many years. There's an emergency management plan. Mr. Reisman, I believe, was on the committee for years, just on his own, not as a representative for it. Somebody from our staff should represent us on that committee. I know there are specific actions you take or things you're being notified of based on the siren. And they used to publish that. They don't do it anymore. So now when the siren goes off for a second time, most people just eat lunch again.
You're probably right, and just another thing is that there's a gentleman on the fort now, and I don't recall his name right now, but he's a ham operator, and he is setting up. Yeah, he used to work for FEMA, but he's setting up a group of people. He's in fact teaching ham operators, and he's setting up a program and a procedure that if there is a severe storm, he's got people that are going to be going to certain areas in the county with their ham operating equipment to keep everybody informed. So, that's part of, that doesn't help us sitting here on the fort if there's a tornado and where we're going to go. I understand that. But there's plans in effect is what I'm getting at.
Yes, there is.
And that's what we have to find out, what the plan is first before we can go forward or backwards from that plan.
That's another good one of those ad hoc committees to temporarily help us out.
We live out by the RV park, and with air conditioning and the house closed up, we don't even hear the siren. So consequently, we either need another siren out there, same way with Sandy on the other end, because we've had it expanded. So if all of a sudden the siren goes off and it has 3 blasts, that's a tornado. And you know enough to go out to the bunkers.
or wherever.
If you are up in town, you know enough to go to the dump center.
I wonder where we find out about siren prices.
It's
Who
all
puts them up?
county responsibility. It's all the responsibility of Kinney County. We all pay county taxes to have all this happen. They could be cleaning the creek for us, but they've been prevented from doing that. Let's work with the county and not reinvent the wheel.
Are you saying, Bill, that the county should pay for sirens and should clean up our bunkers or establish other spots?
Not the bunkers, no, that's that's private property.
Okay, that's what I was saying. I mean, we do have some options to use for storm shelter that maybe we should consider, at least talk about.
Yeah, you have to get the old toilets out of them.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff should be probably moved out of there.
We probably should check with the county to see if they will put up another siren or two, or who does that or how it gets up.
Okay.
I guess then discussion of membership eligibility and delinquencies, and that's what we touched on earlier, is how many of those, we've got a lot of those to clean up. Do we don't have anybody, we don't have really 1,000 of them maybe?
The process, as far as I know, is being worked on.
Well, it's not, we need to see
Liens
what
are
we can do
being-
to speed it up, I guess.
Well, I understand, but, you know, you gotta follow legal procedure. You can't, see, I'm just guessing at this, and Mr. Hahn probably knows because of being with the tax, but if somebody's 30 days in the arrears, isn't there a time that the law says you have to wait before you can actually file a lien?
Our bylaws.
Our own documents say you file a lien in 30 days.
Okay, well, but I mean,
Suggest that an attorney be consulted because of my example of 1,000 inactive members, that you file a class action lien. Because, and then you just, it's an appendix attached to the lien with the name and the amount of debt. Boom, 1,000 names, one filing.
right.
In
But,
filing, you're charged $1 per page, I believe.
yeah, but my question is, and again, kind of, since you worked in the tax office, does the tax office have to wait a specific
No,
length
yes,
of
oh,
time
absolutely.
before you can file the lien?
No, it's triggered by the amount owed
Okay,
or the time that has passed. An example would be we filed class action foreclosures against everybody in Unit 4 that owed taxes, several hundred people. But nobody owed more than a couple $100 because the taxes are only $6 a year. Well, once the attorney's got a hold of everybody, which is a completely different process than we have.
right, I understand what you're saying, but,
Once the attorney's got a hold of them, half of them paid their taxes. They didn't pay their assessments, but they paid their taxes. So what the lawyers determined was it wasn't worth their effort. They weren't going to make anything off of these foreclosures over $180 in back taxes. So the thing just festers. It just festers for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. And it just sits out there. You can't do anything with it except not collect the money. We don't have to have an address. If we send to the last known address, that's the end of our responsibility. The tax office has to go into newspapers and hire people to go find people. Can't stop till they find the person. We don't have to do that.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
You have collections and member services here, and we are going to explain the process again. This is Renee Ford. She does do collections, and we are averaging $13,000 a month in collecting and uncollected debt. Just so you guys know to start with. We send out 30-day letters. She's going to go ahead and explain the process to everyone.
A 30-day letter, which if you were delinquent, say from last month, you're not going to get a letter from me.
Excuse me, could you maybe come up to one of our microphones so everybody could hear it?
Renee. Sorry, Renee.
We need to make you get right in the front of everybody so they can all hear.
Hi. Okay, if you're a delinquent from last month, you're not going to get a letter from me until next month. And at $78 for your assessment, you're going to get a letter from me. And that letter simply says, did you forget to pay me? Please pay me. That's all it says. At 60 days, you're gonna get a certified letter from me that says we now have the right to file a lien. You have to have the 60-day notice in order to file a lien. So at 60 days, the notices are filed. Like she said, there's probably 115 people on my 30-day list, which would be like $78. You have to be $78 past due. You don't, at $78, you haven't gotten your late fees. All you need to do is just come pay me. That's it. After $78, you start accruing a $20 late fee every month that you don't pay. Those add up really quickly. But if you talk to me, we can work something out. Obviously, I don't want to file liens. A lien is $26, and then you have to pay to take it off once the person becomes current again. So that's just how it works. That's how it works here. But like she said, we do average about $13,000 a month in debt from my letters. Like people paid, I don't know if they paid because they got my letter, but maybe my letter reminded them that they needed to pay. So, and some of those are debts that are thousands of dollars that I didn't have anything to do with. I would have taken care of them before that. FRMs get canceled at 60 days. If you're 60 days past due on your FRM, it gets canceled. It's a $200 reinstatement fee, so you don't want to cancel if you call me and cancel it, that's a whole different story. But I work every day in collections, and I'm doing the very best job that I know how to do, and there you have it.
It costs $26 to file.
How much is it to take it off, Rihanna? 26.
Also 26.
It's 26 both ways, yes.
Mr. President, the bylaws require all debts to the association be secured by a lien in 30 days. Period. As our president says, period. We don't pay to take the lien off. The person the lien is against pays for it. That's part of the debt.
But you have to
once we file the lien.
The law is 60 days.
It's the same as a contractor's lien. It's the exact same thing. It's a lien for a debt. We're not taking their property, there's a debt. It's not 60 days, it's what it says in our bylaws. Get an attorney's opinion.
Yeah, and we'll see how that is. How about the other, we've got down here for last month's, April's, 1,087 people that are inactive memberships. What do we do to clear those up and get rid of those?
Our inactive accounts, these have gone, basically why we can't clear them up and why we probably don't want to put our lien on them is because we can write our stuff off. The tax office does not. Death and taxes goes forever. So if I were to go and place a lien on using these inactive accounts, it's going to cost us a lot of money. I have to go to the school, to the county.
This has always been the party line.
Hold on.
About inactive
Mr. Hahn, let her finish, please. Let her finish.
But I don't necessarily, what can we do to get them so they're released, they're not inactive, they're nothing, they're back to our property, I guess.
There's a deed out there.
How
So
do-
you can't just, we have to somehow do a massive sheriff's sale. And to do that, you have to get no?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's,
How do we get it back then if we don't do a trustee sale, or how do we get it back?
well, we don't want to argue about all that. I mean, I don't want to argue about it. I just want some information. I would like to know how to do it because I don't have a clue. So what are we doing, I guess, do we have a program to?
What I do is when the tax office, a lot of times they refer them to call me, because they get a nasty letter from their attorney saying that they're going to come after them. And so I said, how much do they tell you they owe? A lot of times it's anywhere from $10 all the way up to $500. I said the association isn't in the business to go ahead and pay everyone's taxes. So what you would like to do is if you want to pay the property tax and the $26 to record a deed to give it back to the court, after the taxes are current, the association will pick it up because then it goes dissolved into our green area. Before that, I don't see why we'd have to spend the extra money on the taxes. for where we already have access to get on, it's where the golf cart trails are and stuff. So, yes, it would be great to dissolve it, that way we can replat it, maybe do some more development, but it's very time consuming, but, go ahead.
And we would have to pay all the taxes on it at that point in time, which might be,
Someone has to pay it or you have to settle with all the entities, the school, MUD, the underwater district, we would have to settle with it. But there's
Okay.
still a lot of people in those units that still have those, that they keep the membership. They know what they have, they know that if they keep it current, they can lot up to a performing line.
Right.
So a lot of people, I'm still having family members transfer those. So we would have to offer, Mr. Herman made a suggestion, is maybe what we can do is dissolve some of the ones that have a non-performing deed into a charter membership. Then we can kind of slowly dissolve that. But they have to be current and taxes would have to be paid. So that way we don't have to absorb any more costs than what we already have to do.
yeah, we don't want to incur all the taxes if we don't have to.
We need
I mean,
to understand this.
Hold on a minute, that man back there was standing up earlier.
What I would like to know is there a way to, say, put a dollar amount on it? It's like, so if someone's in arrears, say, up to $3,000, we handle it without a lien or something like that. After it hits $3,000, then we send a foreclosure notice on the property.
We need a trustee. The board needs to do a trustee, because there's a pile of stuff that we do need to foreclose on. And then and the lien does take place of it, but once we have a lien, then we can, on the first Tuesday of the month, we can technically, we can go non-judicial. Our association, through homeowners laws and due to our declaration, we don't have to do non-judicial. That was a big thing in 2011, that the law, they thought that changed. That has been debunked because of the way that our declaration has spelled it out. We can do non-judicial, which is after a 60-day and the lien is filed, we can proceed, but we need a trustee. Normally, it has been the listing agent, which has normally been the director of operations, because this person needs to be able to go to the courthouse and say the thing. Now, it does take time because sometimes you may not want to necessarily put a lien on, like if you know there's a lender involved or if the tax office is going with it, because if you put our lien on there and someone has to calculate, say in different units that aren't appraised as loud as much as more, say that someone has let it go for a long, long time. And I would almost not want to put a lien on it because that way we can kind of maybe negotiate. I would rather let them take care of the taxes and get someone in here to start generating income. So it's kind of, you can let something go a little longer, probably in historical, or like, say maybe unit 25 or something, but you got to kind of stay on it in the smaller units that you can't, someone's not going to pay $10,000 for, say, a 1980 trailer. So, and there's another problem is once we get, what do we do with it? Because, like in unit 3, it's hard to pull the trailers out because the roads are small. I mean, I don't think you can put a new mobile home down there. So unit 3, maybe a suggestion to start cleaning it up is out, but you'd have to just ask as to the CCNRs, that unit, like unit 3, would you say maybe change the CCNRs to maybe make it RV/mobile home? Because these days, I don't know if you guys are familiar with unit 3, but it's very small.
Well,
and
that's.
a lot of people that I'm getting are asking for RV slots, and we don't have a whole lot of RV slots because
It's down, excuse me, even it's down so much, it's supposed to be renters.
well,
It's not to be full, nice little homes,
it's
and still take care
well,
of
it's
my
kind
other.
of right. And
Go ahead,
our
Lieutenant.
CCNRs, if you brought in a new mobile home.
Well, that doesn't have to do, what, I wanted to find out about how to get them back, what we should do, and that's helped a bunch, thank you.
If you go back to the beginning of this meeting about rules, regulations, laws, everything else, there is no such, I will give my house to the person that can show me in our dedicatory instruments where we ever established an inactive membership.
Yeah,
It was created by the staff, not this one, but a previous one, when an auditor gave them an out that said, oh, thank God we don't have to collect that anymore. He said if it's longer than 3 years, you need to put them in an inactive status. So they did. Mr. Mendelson had a foolproof system of dealing with debt. He put a lien on the property. He sent the property owner a copy of the lien, and he sent with a fill-in-the-blank quitclaim deed give us back the lot, all's forgiven, move on. We still get stuck with the property taxes. We need to bite that bullet because we shot it at our foot. We caused this problem. Not the people that didn't pay, we did, because we didn't collect the debt. We're owed over $600,000 in back debt. The inactive members are a big part of it. And what do you do with the lot? You collect all the lots in Unit 4. There's 712 lots in Unit 4. And you vacate the plat. And all of Unit 4 goes back, and then you place that in recreational park and scenic land. You don't pay, you pay pennies on the acre. Now we're paying a lot in Unit 4, I believe, from an acreage calculation, is $12,000 an acre in Unit 4. Most people don't know where Unit 4 is. Just look where the smokestack is. That's Unit 4.
All non-performing lots at the appraisal's office is appraised at $420. It's $8.50.
I know what they're appraised at. They're only 20 by, they're at the size of this room. If you calculate that out to an acre, it's $12,000 an acre in there. There's a lot 712 in Unit 4 is 3-point-something acres. You better hope nobody comes in and wants it. And I can tell you, anybody that has a deed out there can go out there and put up a tent and a porta potty.
With a lot option, you're able to take that non-performing lot and go to our auction pool and go to a performing lot.
They don't even know that. Madam, they don't even know that. They don't know it.
That's pretty well addressed. I mean, we still have a lot of problems with getting our control of the lots and the inactive lots, or whatever you want to call them. We've got to redo all that, but I think that's given us some information anyway. That's really the end of our workshop. I thank everybody for coming and sure appreciate everybody's comments, and we'd like to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
And I second that.
We have a motion, a second, and we have a vote. The motion carries. We're adjourned.